One very important question I feel should be on the mind of everyone is why the new tax act? Who are they after? Are they trying to stress the poor? Are they trying to put more pressure on us? That is a question that I believe everyone has been asking. So many misconceptions I've seen for the past 2 months has actually been dancing around that particular question. So I want to just clear it out. The short answer is the government is after the rich. You might not believe me, but the government is after the rich. If you're poor like me, calm down. Calm down. The government is not after you. In fact, this new tax law is designed in such a way that it makes sure that we pay lesser taxes. And in subsequent videos, we are going to see the reason why I said that. This tax is meant for the poor. Let's just first relax and now start understanding the basics. When we understand the basics, then we can take another step forward to say, okay, with this information, what do we do? How do we make filing our taxes better? What does this mean for us? What is the next step to take? If there's any question that you're not now clear on, that you want further answers to, then we can deal with them. But first of all, I think it is going to be counterproductive if we have people who still have misconceptions that this tax act is really after the poor. It's not true. This tax act is not for the poor. It's not against the poor. It's actually in support of the poor. Now, why we had a tax law before? Why was there a change, right? The major reason why there was a change is because the government has realized that some people have gotten really smart at avoiding taxes. They earn a lot of money, yet they do not pay taxes. If we backtrack to about 10 years ago, a decade ago or two, right, we would realize that what characterized the rich people then is different from what is characterizing the rich people now. Before now, digital assets was not a thing. People who were stinkingly rich were people who are business models, people who work for oil companies, people who work for government parastatals, people who, you just know what they do, medical doctors, lawyers, very particular jobs. But these days, we see people who, for example, sell cameras and they make their money, right? We see people who sell digital assets and they make their money. What the government is now trying to do is to widen that tax bracket in such a way that more people fall into the net of taxation, especially the rich. Another very important thing to note that points to the fact that this new tax act actually supports the poor, that this new tax law is more progressive than where we are coming from. The former one puts a lot of pressure on the poor. The taxes that the poor were paying was a lot, honestly. The first 0 to 300,000 naira was subject to 7% tax. Then the next 300,000 naira, another 11% tax. Then the next 500,000 naira, 15% tax. So you would find that the average is about 11-12% for the first 1.1 million. But the new tax law is saying that number one, if you earn minimum wage, no tax for you. You are totally exempt. If you earn minimum wage, you are totally exempt. Now, there are other reliefs or exemptions in quotes that are in the Tax Act. When we take your gross income through all these reliefs, whatever is left, your first 800,000 naira is still tax-free. I think this is the most important part for me, and I really want for people to understand it, especially people who earn a little above the minimum wage. You are not going to be taxed. If you earn as much as 1.3, 1.2 million naira, you end up paying peanuts at tax, because as much as 1.2 million naira, by the time you take your salary through the reliefs that come with rent relief, you're paying rent, so 20% of that already is tax-free, or up to 500,000 naira is already tax-free. If we remove that from the taxable net income, and we remove your if you are contributing for NHS, we are going to remove that particular amount from taxable income. If you are contributing for pension, it's going to be removed from taxable income. If you are contributing for life assurances, it's removed from. There are so many reliefs. So by the time we take your salary through those reliefs, you will end up not paying anything as tax. And I think that is very, very important. It is very, very important. We have been saying that people are earning minimum wage and they are not having anything to save. Now the government is saying do not need to pay tax if you have that low liquidity. Education is off taxes, which means what schools will be levying or paying parents will have to reduce because they do not pay as much taxes as they did before. Also, healthcare system and pharmaceuticals, they are off a lot of taxes. So what they will be paying the government has reduced drastically. House rent, right, is off taxes. We should see a reduction in a sane society. We should see a reduction in rent because house rent is now off taxes. That is, your landlords pay little to no taxes, so it should flow back to us, right? Let's hope and pray it does. But it will not happen overnight. I'm sure you all know. In Nigeria, whatever goes up, it's hard for it to come down. So we'll have to adjust that system. But just know that things are about to get better. Also, basic food items will be off taxes. So we are about to see that the farmers, the agric businesses, they are going to be producing garri, producing rice, the basic food items. They'll be paying very, very reduced taxes. They'll not be paying something like development levy and all those salary taxes. So what they're going to pay to the government has reduced drastically. So they have more profit to themselves, and yes, they need to feed that back to the masses. So I hope I've been able to, with these few points of mine, convince and not confuse you that the government is actually not after the poor. The government is after the big guys. Plus, come to think of it, we are so many people in Nigeria. The government cannot bring out that 200 million Nigerians. They do not have the time nor the resources to go over that many of us. So what is your tax compared to a big company, a big individual that they can get about 1 billion naira tax from? How much are you earning? How much is your salary that you want to be saying that the government will run after you? Nobody has that time. Nobody has that time. Could also be taking care of some misconceptions in other videos. For example, will the government be removing money from your account? Do I need to put transaction details when I'm making a transfer? How will the government actually collect the tax? Well, we will take care of that in other subsequent videos. Bye.